I don't even know where to start the video. So, first of all, I wanted to come forward with a video that's kind of a big explanation about kind of what's going on well, I mean, he made a video, so I'll just go ahead and say Jason Lanier, and if you hear random rumblings, that's the thunder around. But so Jason Lanier recently just launched a video absolutely slandering a number of people, and a lot of what he does is about the show. So I realized that, you know, he's kind of separated from what photography itself is about, the art, and only really cares about the kind of celebrity status and his image and everything like that. So he called me out in the video. I don't know if I introduced myself. My name is Sierra Green, the same Sierra Green that he called out in his video. And it was hard for me to watch the video because there was so many like blatant lies that I literally had to stop the video and finish it at another time. So I figured since Mr. Lanier finds it appropriate to use text out of context to support his claims that women are acting inappropriately towards him, and he in no way is being inappropriate towards them, I actually have very, very many texts to show you. I want to also put a disclaimer out there that a while ago I was threatened with a non-disclosure agreement. We will get to that. Saying that talking about text messages would be in direct violation of this said non-disclosure agreement that I still don't have a copy of, so I'm not really sure if it really exists, to be honest. I'll get into the whole story. I really wanted to do a one-take video because I felt like that would be more sincere, more organic. But it's really not possible. One, because I have to show you bits of his clips that are things that I'll be referring to, and I'll also be cutting in messages, evidence, communications, things like that that back up the claims that have been going on. So I'll also probably be cutting intermittently because my battery, I didn't even charge for my camera, so I have to basically just keep swapping them in and out because I just want to get this video done and over with, and I don't want to wait for a battery to charge up. So my name is Sierra Green, and this is my story about one photographer who completely ruined modeling, not just for me, but for many young girls. A man who used his position of power to manipulate, to violate, to completely tarnish a lot of young girls' views on the world, on men, on their interactions with men, on photography, on modeling. So I hope that this video is seen. I also want to preference that I'm not making this video because I want to sway a public opinion about someone or about me or anything like that. I just want the truth to come out, and you can do with it as you will. There's a substantial amount of evidence that's going to back up my claims, so I mean it kind of will go hand in hand, but overall I like to share my whole story and further support the brave girls that have gone forward, that are putting a lot of their lives and hearts on the line to speak out about it. So thank you in advance for watching, and thank you in advance for any support that you guys have. Thank you. So firstly, there are certain things that I'm not going to go into detail about for a number of reasons. One, because some details are incredibly graphic, and while I want to get the truth out there, I don't think that I owe it to anyone to bring up all of my trauma for the sake of whatever this big ordeal is. So certain details about specific events I will leave out because they're really sensitive and they're hard to talk about and they're uncomfortable, I'm sure, to listen to. And then also on top of that, a lot of it, I could go into a lot of details about what transpired during my tenure with Jason Lanier, but I really want to stay away from stuff that isn't directly provable by evidence, and I'll be using the evidence to back up, or rather ask the question of kind of what has been going on. And I'm sorry that this is kind of rambling. It'll all make sense by the time I'm done, I hope. So yeah. What I will say is on May 22nd, 2018, the FBI opened an investigation on Jason Lanier following the claims of several allegations of sexual assault from his models. There were also reports of being underpaid, not following proper business etiquette, and using or abusing images that he had taken of us. So all aside of, the details that I will or won't delve into, that is the first lie that I'd like to address with Jason, is that he claims that there's never been an investigation on him. I can tell you it is ongoing. I legitimately don't know if I'm allowed to tell you the case number, and I know I can't talk about the agents who worked on the case, but it has been going on for over a year now. And so I wanted to get that out there, that this had been in the works a long time ago. So I want to first put you in my shoes a little bit, and that because I think when it comes to the truth, both parties aren't necessarily always right, and one side is always wrong and one side is always right. There's usually kind of a meld of humanity in there. I want you to imagine what you would do if you had given up your normal working everyday life and chosen a dream job, and after several months of things progressively getting more stressful and your boundaries getting pushed more and more, you eventually, ultimately, actually get sexually assaulted. A real sexual assault. Not even just a quick squeeze on the ass or something like that. I mean a legitimate sexual assault. What would you do? Well, you'd probably quit immediately. I mean, some people probably wouldn't, or they might not. But in my case, I quit on February 20th, 2018. And if you've ever gone through a trauma like that, now this happened over a year ago, so I can talk about it without totally losing it in front of the camera. But when you go through a trauma like that, first of all, it's not just, okay, well that happened, let's move on to the next thing. It takes a while to process what happened. And for me, I was sitting at an airport in Las Vegas wondering how the hell I gave up my life for a dream for this to happen. And I think it was, February 20th, so it was about 2.5 months. Yeah, it was about 2.5 months, maybe close to 3 months before I started even opening up. At first I was trying to wrestle with, do I still try to save face? As weird as it sounds, I remember sending Jason a text saying hey, I still think about you from time to time, hope everything's good with you. And he would in return send texts that are yeah, things are great, and I think that you're amazing, and you'll do great things. And it started just a complete spiral of just depression, anxiety. I didn't want to talk to I couldn't even talk to my family about what had happened because I didn't want to put them through the trauma of what happened. I remember I was turning to substances. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I mean, like drinking or smoking weed. I had a med card, but neither here nor there. Like doing really whatever I could to numb out and not deal with the problem. And so, okay, so you numb out for a while, and then you probably still keep tabs on that person because it drives you crazy. As I was watching him taking my photos off of his Instagram channel, he purposely removed me from promotional videos that we had spent that week before working on. I didn't go to the conference that he went to, and he purposely excluded me from knowing what was going on in WPPI in Vegas that I was supposed to be at, that my image was used for. And I never got a notification, I never got any communication, and he kept releasing videos that had events that I was a part of that he purposely took me out of the video of, and I knew it was kind of his way of just digging in, like, you're totally replaceable, it's no chip off my shoulder, or, you know, no skin off my nose, whatever the phrase would be. And I feel free to talk about all this stuff because I wasn't working for him anymore, so where's the non-disclosure in that? So one day I come across a video of Jason attacking Ken Wheeler, who's also known as the Angry Photographer. And Jason had always talked about this guy. I mean, I worked for Jason only for like 3 months. Like 3.5, 4 months. And he always talked about this guy, and Ken Wheeler drove this guy crazy. And, you know, he always talked about how Ken was obsessed with him, and he'd do anything to ruin his career. But Jason was just as obsessed with Ken Wheeler, and he always talked about how he was going to ruin his career, and he would use his followers. He'd always say, I have followers. And he was going to get him to get in trouble or lose his social media, which is something that he still did in his video. So I see this video of complete slander, because Ken had made a video about Jason not giving a guy with cancer a refund or something like that, and I don't know if that's true or not, but that's neither here nor there. So I see Jason release this video where he completely butchered this man, and I remember at the end of his video he said, you think that you have nothing to lose, but you do, Ken. You do. I will find out what it is and I will take it from you. And then he does this inspirational speech for his followers, you know, never give up on your dreams, and then ends it. And I remember thinking, that scumbag is doing the same thing to anyone, not just models. So, what do you do when you're afraid to talk and you don't know whether you get in trouble if you said certain things, and you want to kind of start taking this guy down because you think it's stupid that he just gets to keep living a life. Sorry, my camera died. So basically, I wanted to, after I was kind of processing what was going on, I actually first, before I get to Ken Wheeler, I reached out to another model. So real quick, I also want to brush, this is going to be a really long video. I want to brush over the interactions that models were allowed to have on the job. And I am going to go into what a companion is, which is what I was for Jason. What a travel companion is. I will get into that. But first I want to say travel companions and models were separate. They're not really allowed to interact because a travel companion's job is to stay by Jason's side. That's what he would say all the time. Your job is to stand by me. There are plenty of workshop attendees that kept mentioning with me and with previous models, why do you keep calling these models over to stand by you? And it's because he would tell us either at the workshop, whisper in our ear, remember your place is by me, or he would have 2-hour-long beatdowns about how replaceable you are if you don't fulfill your role. But we'll get to that. So I wasn't really allowed to interact with the other models, which at the time, for the bigger part, pretty much always, I don't know if I should say their names, so I'll cut this out if I'm not supposed to. But I was always I was always traveling with Emily. I traveled with I met when I got hired. Was his assistant, so it was usually me out, but we were supposed to be separate, and then Jason would have on these other models. So for the Vegas trip, he had another model on, and we're both from Arizona, or both from Phoenix, so I one day just asked her, I can't remember if she just messaged me out of the blue to meet up for coffee. I think that she did. Oh yeah, because Jason was already working on just telling everyone that I was crazy, because of course everyone asked why I left, and people were telling me, like, I heard you got a boyfriend, or, you know, actually nothing about it was she's acting inappropriately towards me, because every model, literally every model knows what Jason made travel companions be. So it would never be an excuse to another model, well, she's being too clingy, because that's what Jason wanted, actually. That was what he wanted the role to be. So he mostly told models, well, she's just crazy, she's not happy with her role, she hates the job, she hates you guys. And so these models are like, well, dang, like, you know, it's gonna be like that, you know? And so one of the models reached out to me and said, hey, you wanna get a cup of coffee? Because she had already was kind of wondering, because actually most of the models knew me, and the workshop attendees knew me as just being a really positive, fun person to be around. I like to goof around and have fun, and I'm pretty free-spirited. Yeah. So I just remember asking this model, like, hey, did Jason ever do anything, you know, kind of inappropriate towards you? And again, at the time, pretty much everyone didn't want to say anything about how Jason treated him. Even when I was working, there were times where I would kind of, where I would have conversations with other models, and we would kind of skirt around saying, is he touching you? Is he talking to you inappropriately? Is he doing anything inappropriate? Knowing full well he was with me, so I can't imagine he's not doing it with them. And then because we weren't really allowed to interact with each other, we didn't know if we could trust each other, so we didn't know how to talk to each other about anything. So it was pretty much like, okay, well, I'm gonna fly you out to New Orleans, and, you know, you're with a group, but you're on your island, you need to figure out your role. And he would pit everyone against each other, and he would constantly tell us how replaceable we were. He would talk about how amazing he was, and how easy we were to be replaced, because there's 1,000 girls in line ready to take our spot, so we gotta, you know, like, do our job. So after I found out from this other girl that he had assaulted her within a short amount of time of assaulting me, I finally got, like, some guts, and I was like, well, if it had been just me, then I probably would have dropped it. But now that I'm finding out it's another girl, and I had suspicions about other girls, so I started digging and asking people, has Jason done certain things to you? And I got different areas of responses. Some models I couldn't even talk to, because they were either still with him or very close to him, and I just didn't know if I could trust them, because I didn't want Jason to know that I was actually doing something. I wanted him to see me as someone who was too scared to do anything, or say anything. So back to Ken Wheeler. So I see this video of Jason talking about how Ken Wheeler is going to go down. And I did multiple things in action right then and there. First of all, I, the first model, let it be known to the world, I went to Ken Wheeler and I said, hey, just so you know, I know Jason's full of crap because he is a piece of crap, and I would like to tell you my story. And also, at that same time, someone had posted a comment on one of my pictures from an old workshop and said, hey, are you and Jason still working together? I don't see you in his videos. And I said, no, that man ruined my life, I'm good. And left it at that. And on a separate instance, put a hashtag me too. No context. Put a hashtag me too on my Instagram. So, I get a text message. So here's the text message. I'll put it on the screen so that that you can see that I didn't just make this up in the crazy universe that we live in. And I'm not going, I'll just read it as it says. I'm not going to sugarcoat how I spoke back then. I'm very different than who I was when I was with Jason and leaving Jason. I was a very broken person back then, and I'm very much healed now, so I'm okay with who I am, but I wouldn't want to be dishonest about who I was. So I'm just going to go ahead and read exactly what he said in my response. Hi Sierra, I've received feedback again. Just referring to a hashtag me too and a simple no thanks, that man ruined my life, I'm good. Hi Sierra, I received feedback that you are speaking ill of me and spreading lies. This not only breaks the NDA that you signed, but also opens you up to possible litigation. I paid you, you gave me a hug at the airport when we said goodbye, and we wished each other well, both in text messages, etc. This is all after you are no longer working with me. You even sent a text message about a week after you no longer worked for me, telling me that you were still thinking about me from time to time. I paid you in full. I put up with constantly trying to find the right role for you. We will get to that later. And the other models and assistants will vouch for how difficult you were around the other ladies. Not true. I constantly kept putting you in the models' rooms, and you kept begging me to take you out of there because you didn't get along with them. Also not true. It was a spatial issue. There were 4 of us in one bed and one couch, and we were supposed to make it work. So he kind of forced a situation where we had to make things work. But again, I'll get to that. I bent over backwards to make it work for you. I even paid $300 extra for you to have your own rental car to drive home after you begged me to get away from those other models. I put the car under my name and added you as a second driver since you didn't have a credit card. All things I didn't have to do at all. What a surprise, him using his privilege and how much he pays for us as an excuse to treat us like crap. In your life, if your life is not the way you want it, stop blaming me for it. I won't tolerate you damaging my reputation. You need to move on, and if you can't, you will only make life worse for yourself. I reached out recently to offer to bring you the magazine ads you were in at your request. Your response was to reply with rude and untrue texts. Just move on before you make this worse for yourself. I hope you do so. And my response to that obvious threat was basically, we both know what you did, cut the bullcrap. I said, next time, don't try to rape your companions, asshole. Go fuck yourself. And FYI, you never gave me a signed copy of an NDA, of my NDA, but even so, I'd like to remind you that when it comes to the law, I'm allowed to speak out as much as I want. NDAs don't cover you sexually violating me, imply litigation threats to me, and I'm going to the cops, dick. And he said you were truly delusional. And I also just real quick want to bring up the magazine thing. We went kind of back and forth. He tried to have like a normal conversation with me, and I was just very abrupt with my responses. And he eventually said, hey, I still have the other, because he contacted me on 2 separate phones. He has one phone where you're going to see all these text messages about how he talks dirty to me, and talks about wanting to do nude shoots with me, and talks about how sexy I am. And then he has another phone where he comes at me as a totally professional man that couldn't in any way be the man that we're claiming he is. So he said, I still have the other phone as well if you want to contact me, or you need to contact me. I said, And again, I was just kind of done with it being a fake conversation when we both knew what he did to me. I said, I don't understand why I would need to text you. You threw me away like garbage after I wouldn't put up with you molesting me. It's insulting that you act like everything is fine between us. He said, what are you talking about? How did I throw you away? I never molested you. I said, yes, you did. Groping me, getting the one bed in the hotel so you had access to grab my boobs and butt, which I repeatedly asked you not to touch. And you flew me out after you traumatized me by doing all that stuff to me. And I told you I didn't want to be your companion. Because apparently being your companion means you get to do whatever you want with my body, despite me explicitly telling you no. He said, that never happened. I said, yeah, I'm sure you would say that in a text. You're a liar and you're sick. Don't talk to me anymore. So, basically, it became, I told Ken Wheeler, hey, just so you know, you're not alone. I opened an FBI investigation, or rather, the FBI chose to open an investigation due to the multiple allegations and evidence that they clearly found was sufficient enough for them to open an investigation. I told him that, yeah, the FBI was investigating him over sexual assault claims and various other knick-knack type things. And he said, I also told him, you know, there's a lot of models out right now, and at the same time, Jason was trying to use his lawyer to kind of silence me. And so I had a long conversation with Ken Wheeler one day for a couple hours, and I told him my story, and I told him that there were other girls, and just the facts about, you know, kind of what happened, but that the FBI was going on. So when Ken Wheeler says, hey, some girls reached out to me, we did, or at least I did, and I did it with the intention of, if there was one person that could just get under Jason's skin without me having to be the one to personally just get under his skin, and for me to kind of stay out of it, Ken Wheeler would be the one to do it. And in that regard, Ken Wheeler fully delivered. I will say I don't necessarily condone some of the kind of exaggerations he made, because there was never a rape claim. They were sexual assault claims. When I said in the text, you know, don't try to rape your companions or your assistants or your models, that, you know, might have sounded extreme, but sexual assault is the step before that. So, and I don't know if wires got crossed or if it was to blow up the story a little bit, but that was where the claim kind of got a little iffy. After I spoke to the FBI about the investigation, they actually did kind of recommend that I backed away and just kind of didn't deal with Ken anymore, because it would only kind of muddle things and make it look like I was working with him or something, which is exactly what Jason latched onto. And then after Ken made a video and kind of it came out, and he did post a lot of links to my stuff, and so it was obvious, like, here's the girl. Jason went to work slandering me to every model he came across that personally knew him. None of them, or I don't know if I should say who they are. He worked on tarnishing my reputation. He actually posted in the video about Jade saying, you know, oh, I'd run Sierra over with my car. Well, he had all these girls doing pretty much anything to make him happy, and we, most of the time, just believed the stuff that he said about other girls. You know, he made everything sound very, well, I mean, he literally just released an hour-long video making it seem really realistic that maybe, you know, he's being attacked and that these girls aren't actually being assaulted. So just imagine how a man like that could act in just a day-to-day interaction with the models. That we were on an island and Jason was our support. Everything that we are, whether or not we ate was up to Jason. Whether or not we had a bed was up to Jason. And he constantly told us that. He constantly said, this is my world. This is my universe. You guys are just living in it. You need to find your role. Yeah, so we'll stop there. And I will start talking now about what a companion is, what I was told it was, what it became, and I'll mostly be using texts as evidence. Will speak to what was said in my interview because I wasn't technically working for him yet. So I will speak to that, and I will just kind of, I mean, at this point I might as well just tell you everything, but yeah, but I have a lot to say, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. Two things I forgot to mention. So I don't want to like read. I don't want to pull up the email and like read it all. So I'll put it on the screen so you guys can see it. I got a cease and desist letter from Jason. Like hired some crackpot lawyer to try to get us to cease and desist and take down posts and stuff. And he actually sent me the same exact letter that he sent to Ken Wheeler, and it said like a lot about just, you made these allegations, and you said the FBI's investigating. How do you know? Do you know the FBI? No, you don't. That's actually like kind of how it was worded, but again, I'll post it. And then I kindly sent him an email back and said, listen buddy, first of all, I'm not Ken Wheeler, so his litigation or whatever you want to call that, or I don't know if it's litigation, I don't know. The defamation suit you have against him doesn't really fall on me. We're two separate people, so you don't have a claim. Also, can you release my model release and my NDA while you're at it, while you're talking to Jason? Because he told me not to respond to him anymore. But I said, basically, dude, you don't have a case against me, and I would like any kind of documentation that I worked for Jason, though. And I never heard from them again, so that was that. And I did want to clear something up that I totally forgot about. A lot of you don't know the reason why Jason was dropped as a Sony artisan, and I'm not sure. I really haven't followed Jason's videos pretty much since I left, with the exception of this last one. So I don't know what he told you, but let me shed some light on what happened. On May 22nd, I told you that the FBI opened an investigation against Jason Lanier. On May 20, I gotta double check. 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 20. One of those days, I sent an email to Sony. And I said, hey, just so you know, there is an investigation. Again, not defamation, not just I'm making up crap. I stated a fact. I said, hey, just so you know, there's an investigation regarding multiple sexual allegations. And I said, hey, as Sony, you might want to drop this guy. But in case you might have not even thought about it, here's the guy that's representing you. And then posted a link to Jason's video that he had already posted, that Jason had posted himself, about how he was going to hunt Ken Wheeler down and take his life from him and ruin his life. And so I said, by the way, this is your Sony artisan that is representing your company, and like, you guys are pretty reputable, so I'm pretty sure you don't want this falling on you. And by May 24th, Jason was gone. Jason was no longer part of Sony. I did get an email also from Sony saying, cool, we received it, thank you. And that was as far as that went. 2 days later, Jason's gone. Or 1 day later, I don't remember which one. I'll find out. So, there's the truth. That's something that Jason didn't mention at all in his video. These false allegations. So, I'm going to dig into pretty much the only point that I want to make about, because Jason's whole video, where he completely slammed me, and again, I'm not going to go into details about my sexual assault, several instances in several different states, but I will speak to the way that he spoke to me, and when he told everybody, here's this girl that's touching me for no reason, and how inappropriate that is. No other model's touching me. And I have several texts referring to him telling me that that's what he wanted, and if I was going to keep my job, that's what I should be doing. And just constantly texting me inappropriate things, and I'm going to read them to you right now, and we'll pull them up so you can see them, and I'll read them here, and you guys will know the fraud and liar that dude is. So here we go.